Edo State Government under the leadership of Governor Monday Okpebholo has said it will probe the immediate past governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, and his political party, People's Democratic Party, PDP, after rain with breeze caught broken a telecommunication mast at Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City, killing one of the event decorators. Pius Etim, whom privileged video showed that he was apparently left to die, as Pius Etim was seen in the video trapped under the iron pole and begging for rescue for some minutes, which no one apparently didn't make effort to help him at an event organized by Governor Okpebholo to mark his 100 days in office. Just as same day, the rain also caught broken a very large billboard with the photograph of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu done on it with a bold caption, "Baba, Edo is working." Although the rain fell, the political ad on a moving car, but the occupant of the vehicle survived the accident. According to AccuWeather forecast, rain was not expected to fall in Benin City on February 20, 2025. Instead, a heavy downpour was forecasted to start in the Edo State capital on Friday, February 21, 2025. Some residents in Benin City said the rain was strange because the downpour came with a little breeze to cut broken the gigantic large billboard of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at Seluko Road Junction in Benin City, collapsing on a red moving car, which occupant of the vehicle came out alive unhurt. Fred Itoa, the chief press secretary to the state governor, in a press release issued and made available on Friday, said, as presented in quotes below, Edo State Governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has expressed deep sadness and condolences to the family of Pius Etim, a young man who tragically lost his life due to an unfortunate incident on Thursday evening at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Benin City, following a heavy rainfall. Governor Okpebholo described the collapsed mast that killed Pius Etim during the heavy rainfall as unfortunate, sad, and painful. "I am deeply saddened to learn of the passing of a young man, Pius Etim, during the intense rainfall and collapse of a mast at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Benin City." Governor Okpebholo extends heartfelt condolences to the family of Pius Etim during this difficult time. "On behalf of the people of Edo State, I offer my deepest sympathies to the family and loved ones of Pius Etim. Our thoughts and prayers are with them during this period of grief." Governor Okpebholo, however, frowned at the attitude of leaders and members of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, who took to various social media platforms on Thursday night to celebrate the unfortunate death of Pius Etim. Governor Okpebholo said such callousness and lack of empathy for the family of the deceased show that the PDP in Edo State has lost touch with the people it once governed. Preliminary investigations show that the collapsed structure at the Samuel Ogbemudia was erected by the administration of Godwin Obaseki, which did a shabby job. It is unfortunate that Obaseki and the PDP in Edo State, known for their lack of integrity, hired compromised contractors to erect defective structures at the stadium. The poor job executed by the administration of Obaseki at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, which led to the unfortunate death of Pius Etim, will be investigated. The contractors or PDP members who may have handled the poor job, if found liable, will face the full wrath of the law. Meanwhile, in another press release, it was said, in his address at an event to commemorate the administration's first 100 days in office, held at the Victor Owaifo Creative Hub in Benin City, the governor said he has laid a strong foundation for progress across critical sectors in the state. Noting that he met a state full of potentials, but facing challenges, Governor Okpebholo said from the first day of his administration, the focus and goal was clear: to restore hope in leadership, create opportunities, and set Edo on the path of lasting progress. He noted that there is so much to be done and his administration is taking decisive steps to turn its vision into reality. Governor Okpebholo railed out the successes of his administration in the areas of security, infrastructure, natural resources and agriculture, and education, and assured the people that more benefits are in the offing. We have taken significant steps in strengthening our economy by increasing our internally generated revenue (IGR) by 10 billion naira as we took our drive to corporate bodies. We have done away with wasteful consultants and invested resources in strengthening public efficiency, and our commitment to job creation is evident in the growth of the public service. Our talent development program, where best minds contribute meaningfully to the growth and development of Edo State. Our administration understands that SM is at the bedrock of our economy, and so we launched interest-free loan scheme for market women, farmers and artisans, which will benefit over 5,000 people in collaboration with the World Bank. We have disbursed grants to over 400 small business owners, ensuring resilience in the face of economic challenges, he said. While railing out achievements in the area of food, security and agriculture, the governor said his administration, in order to make food readily available for the people, had banned market unions who were responsible for price inflation in all the markets. He said, healthcare remains a top priority within the last 100 days in office, as we have established the first VVF center in the South-South, ensuring women receive specialized maternal care, run free malaria testing and free treatment across government hospitals for the next 2 years, upgrade health facilities across the state, ensuring quality healthcare services for Edo citizens. For my administration, security is not negotiable, as we took bold steps by amending the anti-cultism and kidnapping laws with stiffer penalties, which has led to significant reduction in cult-related violence. We reorganized the Edo State Security Corps and recovered over 3,500 illegal firearms, procured 75 Toyota Hilux vehicles and 350 motorbikes to match the criminals, in line with our promise to smoke them out. My administration is constructing major roads across the state, with the historic Ramat Park flyover project, which is set to ease traffic congestion in Benin City. Looking ahead, the future of Edo State under my leadership is bright, as evidenced in the progress we have made together. With our economic development plan, we will prioritize agricultural infrastructure and investment in youth skills development, as the state becomes the 5th largest economy in Nigeria. He noted that the plan by his administration is to drive economic growth in the next 4 years. National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress (APC), Dr. Umar Ganduje, commended the governor for his developmental strides in the state, saying Okpebholo is a progressive, a performer and working governor. Unveiling the project, SHINE, the Secretary to the State Government, Musa Ikilo, said SHINE is an acronym that stands for Security, Infrastructure, Natural Resources and Agriculture, and Education, and it is the framework that drives the actions of Governor Okpebholo. He noted that the actions of the governor are backed up with plans derived from his many interactions with the people. According to him, disengaging non-state actors consultants, the administration has been able to discover that the previous administration was appropriating 5.7 billion naira to subscribe to the eGov platform. The guest lecturer, who is a former governor of Edo State and senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, who spoke on the theme, Practical Governance, A New Edo Has Risen, said Edo is truly rising as the Okpebholo administration is working and fixing the state. He noted that the current administration has demonstrated practical governance in the last 100 days, as there are evidences to show for its achievements. Oshiomhole added that the administration led by Okpebholo is working without signing must and hiring consultants to help develop the state. The governor is a man who talks less but works more, and in 100 days, we have more achievements to show to Edo people. What Edo people want is for your administration to continue to create the enabling environment for them to thrive. Before now, the previous administration used state funds to buy weapons for thugs to disturb the peace of the people of Edo State, but Senator Monday Okpebholo uses state resources to create the enabling environment for Edo people to live peacefully. In 100 days, the governor provided security vehicles for security agencies in the state, revived Edo line transport services after many years, what I could not achieve in 100 days in my time. In 100 days you have laid a very solid foundation for the progress, growth and development of Edo State, he stated. Chairman of the Planning Committee and Deputy Governor of Edo State, Honorable Dennis Idahosa in his welcome address said the occasion was to take stock of the achievements of the Okpebholo-led administration in the last 100 days. He said the agenda of this present administration is to turn Edo State around and return its glory through the 5-point agenda of the governor, which focuses on development and growth, and making the citizens priority. In 100 days in office, we already have evidences to show that a new Edo is rising. As we present our achievements of 100 days in office, Edo people will agree that this administration stands as a testament to practical governance as a new Edo is rising, he said. Coordinator, Office of the First Lady, Edesili Anani Okpebholo thanked the governor for his developmental strides in Edo State, urging him to give women more appointments in his administration. She assured that the women will give him their 100% vote come 2028 governorship election. Other guests present at the occasion included the former Minister for Budget and National Planning, Clem Abba, former Deputy Governors of Edo State, Lucky Imasuen, Pius Etim and Comrade Philip Shaibu, Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Blessing Agbebaku, traditional and religious leaders, party leaders, civil servants, politicians, civil society groups, market women and other stakeholders.
Congratulations, my brother. Congratulations. Heavy billboard, you can see.
I thank God for no life.
He is the driver of the vehicle. God just saved his life. See? This is the vehicle. I see now.
Nigeria Senate has summoned the current National Security Advisor, NSA, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, Adeola Ajayi, Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, Ambassador Mohammed and the Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, Major General Emmanuel Onyende, following the allegations made on Friday, February 14, 2025 at the United States Congress by a U.S. Congressman, Scott Perry, that the U.S. government is funding Boko Haram among other terrorist organizations in the world through the United States Aid for International Development, USAID. This, he said, less than 3 years after former Nigeria Chief Security Officer Hamza Al-Mustafa on December 6, 2022, as a guest at the reality radio and television magazine program produced by the Briquette family, alleged that Boko Haram insurgency is a product of foreign interest for the purpose of exporting an unannounced most expensive mineral resource in the world, Californium stone, that is abundantly found in Borno State, used by world powers to produce nuclear weapons, with emphasis that the Boko Haram activities are funded by foreign interests under the guise of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, who do come to Borno with the pretense that they are helping the people to fight against poverty and poor healthcare, but at the dead of the night, the foreign NGO officials alone do go to dangerous places in Borno State where Nigerian soldiers dare not go even at daytime. Vanguard newspaper reported that the Senate invited the intelligence chiefs just as President Bola Tinubu and Senate President Godwin Obaseki met last night at the presidential villa to discuss the matter. Californium was discovered in 1950 by Ahmed Gilso and Glenn T. Seaborg at the University of California, Berkeley, and was named after the state of California and the university where it was discovered. And Californium stone is used for nuclear explosives, which Boko Haram in 2010 almost on daily basis was bombing Nigeria capital city, Abuja, when the then National Security Advisor, Owoye Azazi, who later died in helicopter crash, that Boko Haram has foreign support, well-trained, funded and enjoyed patronage of some politicians like the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who he alleged was aiding and abetting Boko Haram over internal wrangling in the then ruling party. When the Chibok girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram, the then Nigerian First Lady, Patience Jonathan, obviously acting on privilege and security intelligence, apparently accused the people in the northeastern part of Nigeria that they knew what they are doing and that the blood of innocent people they are sharing in the region is enough. The U.S. government led by then-President Barack Obama apparently believed members of the Boko Haram group to be protesters or freedom fighters, and Barack Obama always blamed the Boko Haram insecurity on bad governance in Nigeria until U.S. congressmen and women mounted consistent pressure on him to declare the Boko Haram insurgency an international terrorist organization, which Barack Obama eventually did in June 2012 after Boko Haram had bombed United Nations UN headquarters in Abuja in 2011. In June, the U.S. State Department announced the designations for the Boko Haram leader, Abubakar Shekau, as well as Abubakar Adam Kamba and Khalid al-Banawi. Kamba and Banawi were said to be linked to Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, Al-Qaeda's North African branch. Barack Obama, while designating the Boko Haram as an international terrorist organization, according to a press statement made available to newsmen by the White House, indicated and stated that the designation is significant because it directs U.S. law enforcement and regulatory agencies to block business and financial transactions with Boko Haram, which is fighting to impose Islamic law in northern Nigeria and has ties to Al-Qaeda. Boko Haram means Western education is sacrilege. The move makes it a crime under U.S. law to provide material support to the group. Although the U.S. government never named the businesses of the Boko Haram and their accounts or savings assets in the United States, the then leader of the Boko Haram insurgency, Abubakar Shekau, in reaction claimed he has no business interests in the United States, but the government of President Muhammadu Buhari said there were over 100 Boko Haram sponsors with links to 10 countries. Presidential spokesman Garba Shehu, in March 2021, said the Nigerian government arrested operators of 400 bureau de change for allegedly funding Boko Haram insurgency in the country, saying the suspects were transferring money to the terrorists, and the statement was widely reported by Nigerian newspapers. U.S. Congressman Scott Perry on Friday claimed that USAID had funded terrorist organizations, including Boko Haram. Perry, a Republican representing Pennsylvania, made the claim during the inaugural hearing of the Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency on the 14th of February 2025. The session, titled "The War on West: Stamping Out the Scourge of Improper Payments and Fraud," focused on allegations of financial mismanagement within U.S. foreign aid programs. Who gets some of that money? Does that name ring a bell to anybody in the room? Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds in madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding, Perry said. The call for an urgent investigation into allegations of terror financing against USAID followed a motion raised by Senator Ali Ndume on the urgent need to probe the matter. During the plenary, lawmakers expressed concerns over a viral video of a U.S. congressman, Scott Perry, who alleged that USAID has been involved in financing terrorist groups across the world, including Boko Haram. Ndume noted that this claim comes shortly after the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, raised alarm that terrorist groups in the country were receiving sponsorship and training from international organizations. The freeze in aid funding by Donald Trump's new U.S. administration has left humanitarian workers seeing a large proportion of their budget cut off, and fearing millions will be affected as programs are suspended. On January 24th, 4 days after Trump returned to power, NGOs linked to the USAID received a first letter asking them to cease all activities funded by the agency. A week later, a second letter, sent by AFP, authorized them to resume certain missions intended for life-saving humanitarian assistance. But the terms used are vague, and the NGOs say they feel lost. The new administration has launched stinging attacks on USAID, which Trump claimed was run by radical lunatics, and his ally and advisor, the world's richest person Elon Musk, has described as a criminal organization. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is now its acting director, vowing to put an end to its insubordination. Global and regional NGOs told AFP in interviews that the effect to their work has been immediate and warned the move could also erode U.S. influence worldwide. BBC on the 20th of July 2015 had reported that the U.S. President, Barack Obama, has pledged to support his Nigerian counterpart Muhammadu Buhari in the fight against Islamist militant group Boko Haram. In the first meeting between the two since Mr. Buhari's election, Mr. Obama said the Nigerian leader had a very clear agenda for defeating extremism. The U.S. has committed $5 million to the fight against Boko Haram since Mr. Buhari came to power. The jihadists have killed thousands in northeast Nigeria since 2009. Speaking after the two met at the White House, Mr. Obama called Nigeria one of the most important countries on the African continent and praised Mr. Buhari for tackling corruption, an issue which compromised Washington's relationship with the Nigerian leader's predecessor, Goodluck Jonathan. Boko Haram has carried out attacks in northern Nigeria since its insurgency began in 2009, most notably the April 2014 kidnapping of 276 Nigerian schoolgirls who are still missing. President Obama's wife Michelle got involved in an online campaign to draw attention to the girls' plight, #BringBackOurGirls, and the U.S. sent surveillance flights over Nigeria to help locate them. However, the U.S. refuses to sell weapons to Nigeria because of concerns over its army's human rights record, BBC reported. Meanwhile, the former presidential candidate of Action Alliance, AA, and former Chief Security Officer to the late General Sani Abacha, retired Major General Hamza Al-Mustafa, claimed that Borno State has a highly radioactive element, californium, in abundance. According to Hamza Al-Mustafa, the said precious stone, californium, is responsible for the Boko Haram insurgency and other security challenges bedeviling the state for more than a decade. The 62-year-old retired military officer said Nigerians should visit Google and search for the price of californium element, which is worth $27 million per gram. In the viral video of the radio program, Al-Mustafa further alleged that the environmental degradation in the form of oil spillage and pollution that has been disturbing the oil-rich Niger Delta region is nothing but a game plan orchestrated by powerful forces in order to satisfy their self-centered interests.
Who gets some of that money? Does that name ring a bell to anybody in the room? Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. If you think that the program under Operation Enduring Sentinel, entitled Women's Scholarship Endowment, which receives $60 million annually, or the Young Women Lead, which gets about $5 million annually, is going to women who, by the way, if you read the Inspector General's report, is telling you that the Taliban does not allow women to speak in public. Yet somehow you're believing, and American people are supposed to believe, that this money is going for the betterment of the women in Afghanistan. It is not. You are funding terrorism, and it's coming through USAID. And it's not just Afghanistan, because Pakistan's right next door. USAID spent $840 million in the last 20 years on Pakistan's education-related program. It includes $136 million to build 120 schools, of which there is zero evidence that any of them were built. Why would there be any evidence? The Inspector General can't get in to see them. But you know what? We doubled down and spent $20 million from USAID to create educational television programs for children unable to attend the physical school.
Social media is garbage in.
Yeah, they can't attend it because it doesn't exist. You paid for it. Somebody else got the money. You are paying for terrorism. This has got to end. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
The level of interference by the Obama's government was very overwhelming. It's not as if I couldn't have won the election even with that. But if by my own thinking and also the way some other people look at it, they go outside the normal diplomatic relationship, then it should be mentioned.
Behind his back. We must hear from our own security agencies.
To sending that person to Nigeria at the eve of election, after Obama even issued a statement directing Nigerians to vote for the next chapter, that tells you something. And we should not sweep these things under the carpet. If a foreign country, whether African country or even America or any other country, interferes with our own elections, we should mention it.
And questionings and all that to brief us. And security is not something...
Immediately the Chibok issue came up, we expect Nigerians to be concerned. How do we get these girls out? Within a couple of days, we saw people going to the US. We bring back our girls' placards. How? Why? And of course, the Mrs. Obama received one of those placards. I cannot take responsibility for the abduction. I don't control Boko Haram. They are criminals. But as a president, of course, you know, it's not the president that go to the field. You have security and intelligence officers that do the work. Let me admit that, yes, maybe they do their best, but their best was not good enough for us to recover the girls. That does not mean that I'm trying to remove myself from any blame. Yes, I may not be blamed for the action, but I could be blamed that my security and intelligence system are not strong enough to be able to rescue the girls.
You know what I'm talking about. You can Google as I talk. What is californium? Californium.
Is a state in the United States?
No. It's a precious stone.
Oh, not California.
That's why I want to tell you this.
Californium.
Californium in today's market, Google and tell me the price before I finish talking. In today's market today, in the world market today, one may ask, in Borno State, there is Boko Haram. There are areas that are still mined, now no-go area. The weather is harsh. It's very unfriendly. It's a small place. But there is something the international community with the connivance of Nigeria. Every day you have NGOs
coming into,
and they are hiring houses from 10 years, 20 years and above. And once you give them the price, they don't ask, they just pay. What are they doing? Why are most of them coming with satellite telephones? Why are most of them coming with PCs that are working with the same satellite telephones?
Computers that are working directly with satellite.
How come most of them come under the guise of supportive activities to the poor? They are giving them medication. Did the Ministry of Health bother to discover the type of medicine they are giving to the poor? How come there is increase in kidney and cancer, kidney and liver and cancer problems in Borno? How come it is attacking old people? How come the NGOs live in the wee hours of the night where soldiers dread to go? Police, security men cannot go. They go. This californium, do they take per day? How much is a gram of californium in world market today? Who has Google to know? 27,100,000 per gram. $1 million. I didn't say naira. Yes, it's the most expensive thing.
Do we have it in Nigeria?
In abundance in Borno State. That's what started the Boko Haram. That's the game. Are we aware? How can we be ignorant of our country, of our place, of what God has given to us? If we don't know your country, what type of leadership are you coming to give? You are a liability if you don't know. How can we be supporting ignorance to say that's where we search for leadership? What can we do about it?
Somebody should read it out. How much is californium?
Okay. Californium is...
Talk to the mic properly.
Californium is $27 million per gram, not kilogram.
So how many grams is in a kilogram?
1,000.
1,000 grams makes 1 kilogram. And 1 gram is
$27 million.
So 1 kilogram.
is the most expensive. You know when I knew this? 1996. And one of the offenses we committed to some big men is getting to know this. We were tagged enemies, and it should not be known. 1996, I was tagged. Remember, at that time, there was the first campaign against me in Concord newspaper, front page, the Iron Man behind Abacha. That was the beginning on how to destroy me. And all for Nigeria. And I'm doing it for our well-being. If you sit down and say Kuwait is rich, how can we be seeing our relations, our parents? Whosoever you are, a mother is a mother. You see mothers carrying wood, and that's your mother. If you laugh at her because she's poor, she's your mother. You see an uncle trekking some without shoes into the farm, toiling the soil, that's your father. It doesn't matter which part of Nigeria he comes from. It doesn't matter whether he's a Muslim or Christian. These are our parents. How can we have these riches and be seeing poverty all around us and we think we are comfortable? What am I going to tell God Almighty? I'm a deceit, I'm a liar. It is better I offend any person in telling him the truth and standing by it than to offend God Almighty. That's the way some of us are. That's why we're not friendly with some of them.
The Niger Deltans are not drilling good water, no hospital.
In fact, Niger Delta, let me tell you one of the little homework we have done. Out of numerous that you are aware of. You know spillage that you see in Niger Delta?
This oil spillage
is deliberate.
Oh, it's deliberate.
It's a game. Let me tell you what it is. You know these rubber plants, the plants is harder coming from water, correct? Yes. Once there is spillage and it stays beyond a month, part of it becomes rotten and hardened. And then when money is paid for environmental cleaning, that plant in itself that is soft in oil, they will now take it along. No, take it along. And when it is now regrilled, refiltered, is the best energy for nuclear plants.
So they will have information.
So that is to say, environmental degradation, environmental pollution is an investment at the expense of our mothers, at the expense of our fishermen in South, at the expense of their health. And who has ever spoken about this? I'm sure you never heard of this.
Are we getting educated? Are we getting educated?
Yes, sir.
That's why some of us, I know I'm a northerner, and I know how much we invested in getting to know the ills and the abuses against our people. In South, there are many people unconsciously are being used against the environment. Little money, weapons, drinks. Everything goes. But they are killing the country. They are killing the family. Look at the health. Go to Port Harcourt. Take your bath.
Come out and see.
Come out. 10 minutes after, take handkerchief, clean your face. That is what you are inhaling into your lungs. For how long? How much of this health hazard is affecting people? How much have we done in cleansing the environment? How much have we invested in having clean air? Since 1965, drilling is going on. We don't care about the health and welfare of the people. What is our name? You have too much money, and when you are to use it, a certain foreign country will...
The 10th leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, on Valentine's Day sent a message to the lovers, supporters of the Biafra Republic agitation and the general public that he would remain in detention until impartial and unbiased judge take over the case of alleged terrorism filed against him by the federal government of Nigeria, narrating how the judiciary has been biased against him since years of his detention. In an open letter to the general public, the detained Biafra leader, who has continued his agitation for the declaration of Biafra Republic, stated below in quotes, "Greetings to all men and women of goodwill in Nigeria and elsewhere in the world. I have been compelled by the events of the past few days to take the unusual step of writing this open letter for the singular purpose of calling the attention of the general public to the serial executive and judicial fraud being perpetrated against me since my extraordinary rendition in 2021. The details are as follows. 1. In a judgment entered on the 1st of March 2017, the Federal High Court Abuja ruled that the IPOB is not an unlawful group. At the time, it received widespread publicity which can be verified from Vanguard.com/2017/03/Kanu-I. This landmark ruling, made by the court before it turned unjust, emanated in a criminal proceedings that required proof beyond reasonable doubt, and in which the federal government and my humble self presented our respective cases. Alas, instead of the federal government to go on appeal as the law mandated, if they are dissatisfied with the judgment, the former Attorney General, Abubakar Malami, went behind closed doors with a letter signed by late Abakari and got IPOB proscribed, tagged a terrorist group in an ex-parte proceedings conducted without notice to me or to the IPOB. This abominable incident was the earliest sign yet that the government and its judiciary have struck an unholy and fraudulent alliance to deny me my rights and thereby imperil the lives and liberty of millions who identity with IPOB. 2. On the 26th of October 2022, a federal high court declared my extraordinary rendition and detention as unconstitutional, stating that the manner of arrest and detention of the applicant, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, in Kenya, his continued detention in Abuja, his subjection to physical and mental trauma by the respondents, the inhuman and degrading treatment meted out to the applicant amounts to a brazen violation of the applicant's fundamental right to dignity of his person and threat to life under Section 34(1)(a) of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended. The court further ordered the federal government to apologize to me and pay me compensation. In a responsible and well-ordered society, run by a responsible government, this judgment is sufficient to have ended my lengthy detention and encourage the federal government to constructively engage me on the issue of the self-determination agitation that triggered this whole saga. 3. Pedal back to the 13th of October 2022 when the Court of Appeal held that the courts must never shy away from calling the executive to order when they resort to acts of executive lawlessness. The duty of the courts is to maintain a balance between ensuring that law and order is obeyed and the protection of the individual from oppressive actions by the executive. By the forcible abduction and extraordinary rendition of the appellant, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, from Kenya to this country on the 27th day of June 2021, in violation of international and state laws, the lower court or indeed any court in this country is divested of jurisdiction to entertain charges against the appellant. Despite the clarity of this judgment and its comportment with reason, the federal government refused to release me from detention while it went behind closed doors and connived with 3 other justices of the Court of Appeal who fraudulently and swiftly sat on appeal over the judgment and practically destroyed it by issuing what they termed a stay of execution. One may then ask, is it not abominable for a court to stay a judgment the government already disobeyed? In a plethora of cases, the Supreme Court has held that anybody who disobeys a related court order cannot be given any judicial relief until such order is obeyed. This is a sound reasoning that applies to everybody but is fraudulently overlooked when it comes to my case. 4. Fast forward to the 15th of December 2023 when the Supreme Court sent back my case to the Federal High Court for trial. For avoidance of doubt, that was not the only decision the Supreme Court made. It also decided that my bail should not have been revoked, and it went on to state clearly that the judge exhibited significant and unacceptable bias by revoking my bail. In a sane society, one would expect that when the High Court received my case from the Supreme Court and hankered down for trial, it was also duty-bound to restore my bail in line with the pronouncement of the Apex Court. But that did not happen. Why? Well, your guess is as good mine, and that is, the court connived with the federal government to continue my detention in violation of Section 287 of the Nigerian Constitution while they plotted to railroad me through an unfair trial that already has a predetermined verdict. 5. On the 24th of September 2024, I decided that I have had enough of taking my chances at getting justice from a judge that, in June 2021, sent me to secret police detention without fair hearing, later refused to transfer me to prison to better prepare for my trial and capped it all by refusing to restore my bail and instead ordered an accelerated trial in the face of the reality that I will never get a fair trial whilst detained at the DSS. These are the major reasons that compelled me to request recusal of the judge, and having consented to it, she proceeded to make an order removing herself from my case. That order was never challenged on appeal, thus it remains extant to this day. But instead of the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court to do the lawful thing by assigning my case to another judge, he connived with the federal government to eat crow and send my case to a judge that stands recused by a valid order. To conclude this open letter, let me make it clear that it should in no way be construed to mean that there are no decent judges in Nigeria that can be trusted to deliver even-handed justice in my case. That is not the issue. Instead, the issue is that my case is deliberately being shielded from judges and justices that are deemed to be committed to doing justice even when it means that the federal government must lose. Be that as it may, if it will take the rest of my life in detention to produce me before a proper and impartial court, so be it. But let me say this for the world to know, I will not succumb to any trial conducted by any judge or court whose jurisdiction does not pass constitutional muster. Not now, not ever. Thank you all. Signed by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, dated the 14th of February 2025. We had reported that Justice Binta Nyako of Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned indefinitely after the detained leader of Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, as seen in a privileged video footage during February 10, 2025 court session, staged a resistance protest, insisting while confronting the judge face-to-face, including the prosecuting counsel, Ademwega Awomolo, that Justice Binta, who is an indigene of Katsina State, same state with former President Muhammadu Buhari, is biased. Saying, Justice Nyako, who had held a political position of Katsina State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice, that her court is not a court of law but a shrine of injustice, accusing the judge of poke-nosing with authorities to pass wrong judgment against him in order to be left off the hook by the federal government. Her son, Abdul Aziz Nyako, and her husband, retired Vice Admiral Murtala Nyako, who was once Chief of Naval Staff, Deputy Chief of Defense Staff, pioneer former military governor of Niger State, 2 times governor of Adamawa State, who were impeached twice by Adamawa State House of Assembly for misconduct, one of the soldiers that fought against Biafra during Nigeria's civil war, a current member of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, who is facing corruption charges alongside his son in a criminal allegation filed before court of law since 2015 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over alleged cases of abuse of office, criminal conspiracy, theft and money laundering. We had October 2024 reported that the Chief Judge of Federal High Court in Nigeria, Justice John Tahamba Soho, has rejected the verbal plea by the detained Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, for the trial judge in the case, Justice Binta Nyako, to withdraw being the judge over the lawsuits. Justice Soho stated that Kanu's case was reassigned to Justice Nyako due to its prolonged nature, dating back to 2015. Given that Justice Nyako had handled the case for the most part, she was deemed the most suitable judge to see it through to its conclusion. However, the Chief Judge directed that if at the next hearing of the case, Kanu still insists on recusing Justice Nyako, he must file a written motion with an affidavit, stating all the grounds for requesting the recusal. We had reported in September 2024 that Justice Binta Nyako of Federal High Court sitting in Abuja have withdrawn from the case of the 10th Biafra leader, Nnamdi Kanu, after the trial could not commence following the Biafra leader's personal confrontation with the judge for the second time in the year. We had reported in May 2024 that, in a rare case in the history of legal proceedings in the world, Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, helped himself at the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja and played the role of a lawyer with full energy and vibrant command of words. With fearless loud voice defended himself with face-to-face confrontation with the trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, and the Federal Government Prosecution Counsel, Adegboyega Awomolu. Kano is being prosecuted by the federal government on a 7-count bordering on terrorism.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.